It does say, though, that both Commodore and Atari assured customers the computer supply situation should be alleviated by mid-June, which is probably much more than we could hope for than your Baltimore Orioles by June.
They always start off slow in April.
Not this slow.
Not this slow, but we've got a couple of months left, and they're only 5, 6, 7 games out. It's still close.
8, 9.
Let's talk basketball tonight.
Okay.
NBA playoffs continuing, and they're developing a pattern already. We've got the division winners who keep winning, and everybody else who keep playing 500 ball. We're going to take a look at that and the weekend ahead on AFN Television for Sports when we return right after this. Well, unlike the Orioles, the NBA playoffs continued in grand fashion last night with a sense of the theatrical, a sense of the magnificent, leading the performance in almost all the 5 games played. First to the best performance by a gunner in a losing effort, it was Bernard King of the Knicks. He had for 46 points last night, including 23 straight in the first quarter, but the Knicks still lost to Detroit 113-105. Bill Laimbeer led the Pistons in that game with 31 points. That series now knotted at 1 game apiece. Elsewhere, Gus Williams' bucket at the buzzer gave the Sonics a win, while the Nuggets blasted Utah. The Bucks 14 better than Atlanta, and the Celtics made it 2 in a row over the Bullets, but that's expected from the team and its coach.
K.C. Jones knows everything there is about being a member of the Boston Celtics. He was a standout player on 8 championship teams in 9 seasons and was an assistant coach on their last title team. His loyalty to the organization is unquestioned, but K.C. Jones has a secret.
I looked at the ceiling of all the flags up there, the tradition of winning. It was scary. If I had a choice of coaching the Celtics and, say, coaching another team around the league, I'd have gladly jumped at the other choice.
Jones knows all too well the demands placed on being head coach of pro basketball's most successful organization, but the team he inherited is also one of the league's most talented. They won 60 or more regular season games in 3 of the 4 years before Jones became coach, and this season, the Celtics have pro basketball's best record. I
like being in this position. Being that far ahead, it allows us to say, well, we're doing well and we can do better, so let's try to keep this thing on track.
No stranger to the success of head coaching, Jones guided the Washington Bullets to the NBA Finals in 1975.
What is important as far as any style of coaching goes is expertise, the honesty, and being able to give direction.
And through his easygoing manner, Jones is able to deliver that direction to his players, who like his style.
He's the type of guy that is very understanding, and we respect that as players because we're supposed to be treated like men now, and we try to treat him the same way.
The key to K.C. Jones's success could be his even temperament, ideal for the pressure-filled environment of coaching the NBA's top team.
We're riding the crest now. Tomorrow, it might be that part of the cliff that just falls down the hill. But then, but that goes with coaching.
Dennis Kirkpatrick, CNN Sports.
That endurance test known as the Olympic basketball trials continues today in Indianapolis. Coach Bobby Knight has his troops going through three-a-day workouts. The 72 hopefuls will be cut down to 30 by tomorrow. Then following a couple of doubleheaders this weekend, that number will be trimmed to 14 to 20. Baseball yesterday. Former Gold Glove shortstop Gary Templeton helped the cause. The Padres took it on the chin 4-zip. Dodgers' Steve Sachs, here we watch him, and Greg Prock with homers in that one. Elsewhere, the Giants 3 hit the Reds, while UB Brooks homer 1 hit for the Mets. Steve Trout was the winner for the Cubs over St. Louis, and the Phils and the Bucks were rained out. American League, the Tigers' streak stopped at 9, while the Orioles kept their worst record in baseball intact in Toronto. The Rangers 7 better than Boston, and Rich Dotson a 5-hitter in the White Sox win. One other game yesterday, the Yankees in Cleveland didn't get a chance to play. They were rained out in Cleveland. Now, between baseball and the NBA playoffs, you're probably all set to find out what games you can sit home and enjoy on AFN this weekend. But Army Sergeant Dave Bowen says, wait a minute.
The weather outside is absolutely glorious, and it promises to stay that way for the rest of the weekend. So what better time to go out and see some of the sporting events going on in and around Germany? If variety is, as they say, the spice of life, then it should be a pretty spicy weekend ahead, with perhaps the spiciest event of all starting it off. It's bodybuilding. A Mr. and Mrs. Meet will be held Saturday at the gym at Kaiserslaughter's Kleber Kaserne. Prejudging starts at 10 a.m. with the finals at 8 p.m. If the great outdoors is more your kettle of fish, you can hook onto the fishing derby near Augsburg. Lake Dillingen is the site. The open derby begins at daybreak Saturday and runs till 4 p.m. The Augsburg Rod and Gun Club has more information. Lots of soccer on tap for this weekend. In the Army Leagues, Bad Kreuznach takes on Dortmund starting at 1 Saturday, and Karlsruhe is at Mannheim at 2 p.m. the same day. In CSC soccer action, 5 games on tap, all on Saturday, all starting at 1. Rhein-Main is at Berlin, Sembach visits Ramstein, Wiesbaden's at Zweibrücken, Spangdahlem travels to Bitburg, and Camp New Amsterdam visits Hahn. Several German Bundesliga soccer games near Americans. Bayern and Bremen battle at Munich. Hamburg is at Bielefeld. Frankfurt travels to Dusseldorf. Nuremberg is at Offenbach. And Mönchengladbach visits Mannheim. All those games Saturday, 3:30 start time. 2 motocross events in Germany this weekend, both on Sunday. One is on the Dornberg near Nuremberg, and the other at Wieseck near Gießen. And all weekend long, there'll be racquetball going on at Rhein-Main Air Base. The tournament is an American-European Racquetball Association event. All said and done, it should be a great weekend. Lots of good sporting events going on around Germany. Me, I may just stay right here. But before that, let's go over to specialist Ron Bruschi for a look at what's on radio and TV this weekend.
Well, Dave, as nice as the weather's going to be this weekend outside, you may not want to stray too far away from your radio or TV set inside, because AFN Radio and Television has a full complement and a wide variety of sports that should prove to be very exciting this weekend. It all gets started at 3 this coming morning with NBA playoff action as New Jersey Nets try to repeat their upset win of the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 2 of that best-of-5 series. Then it's over to AFN TV for baseball. The first pitch in the NBC Game of the Week is at 8 p.m. Teams will either be the New York Mets versus Philadelphia or San Diego against L.A. A little later Saturday night at 10:30, it's back to the court as AFN Radio presents the Boston Celtics and Washington Bullets battle in Game 3 of their best-of-5 Eastern Conference Series. Early Sunday morning at 2:35 a.m., it'll be baseball as AFN Radio goes to the airwaves with the Houston Astros taking on the Atlanta Braves. The weekend wraps up on AFN TV with USFL football action starting at 9:30 Sunday night. Teams have not yet been announced. That's the way the live sports weekend stacks up. Should prove to be an excellent weekend. And now back to you, Stan. I think it's one of these buttons.
Even got the key right. Thanks, Ron. And Golf Gil Morgan carries a 2-stroke lead into the second round of the Heritage Golf Classic in South Carolina today. Closest named competitors are 4 shots back: Tom Watson, Tom Kite, and defending champ Fuzzy Zeller. LPGA action in St. Petersburg, Florida. Robin Walton, a 6-year tour vet without a victory, has a 2-stroke lead over 4 golfers heading into today's second round. Finally, a high school story tonight. Now, normally a high school performance, if it's not local, really doesn't merit any attention. But yesterday, Al Leader of the Central Regional High of New Jersey struck out 32 batters in 13 innings. The sad fact is it wasn't the record. The record's 37 batters, and the game was stopped after 13 innings with no score. Now, you can keep score a little bit easier. Just take a couple of National and American League Baseball schedules along. You can get them very easily. Just send us a letter. Write to Schedules, Headquarters AFN, APO 09757, and remember, include a self-addressed MPS envelope, or we'll have nothing to send you the schedules back in. By the way, tonight on the Sports Update at 10:25, we'll take a look at baseball as only a fan would. That's sports for now. Have a nice weekend.
Well, the big Easter weekend has finally arrived. All this...
Well, when you're a champion, there's only one way to go out, and that's a winner. Yesterday at the USARA Boxing Championships, Baumholder's James Mitchell did just that. He captured the welterweight title before announcing his retirement from the ring. Mitchell, who's a 4-time inter-service champ and a former national champion, decisioned Dave Stokes yesterday for the crown. Baumholder's boxing great retires with a career record of 128 wins against just 16 losses. Other winners included Baumholder teammate Joe Parks, 7th Corps' Eric Shields, 5th Corps' Reggie Morgan, Mannheim's Cedric Mingo, 5th Corps' Larry Golden, Rudy Zayas of 7th Corps, Lloyd Jackson of 5th Corps, defending inter-service champ Kevin Bryant, 7th Corps' Don Stevens, Charles Lowe of 5th Corps, and Mannheim's Larry Cook, an All-Army runner-up last year. In the NBA playoffs, the Nets stepped out early against Milwaukee. They were led by Darryl Dawkins' 32 points, including 2 3-pointers in the final 90 seconds to take the opener, 106-100 from the Bucks. Otis Birdsong added 18. Marcus Johnson led the Bucks with 23. Junior Bridgman added another 20. In other NBA openers yesterday, Larry Bird played with a sprained ankle. He was the difference. Bird 23 points, 12 assists, and 9 boards. And the Jazz stopped Phoenix yesterday by a 105-95 score. Walter Davis with 21 points. Baseball yesterday. Arrhenius Salazar, the Expos shortstop, connects in the second inning for a long triple out to left center field. That drive will bring in the go-ahead run, giving Charlie Lee his 4th win of the year. Montreal didn't stop there yesterday either. Up to the plate comes one 42-year-old man named Pete Rose. Whack! Pete drives in another run. The Expos win it easily, 6-2. Elsewhere, the Cubs 5-hit Pittsburgh. Steve Trout, Tim Stoddard, Lee Smith combined for the win. The Mets rode 6 Philly errors to a win yesterday. Alejandro Pena shut out the Padres for L.A. The Astros winners by 3 over Atlanta, and the Reds take a pair from the Giants. In the American League, the Yankees yesterday scored 4 in the last of the 13th for a win over Milwaukee. The Tigers yesterday, 5 better than Cleveland. They were rained out in Kansas City. The Birds, 1 better than Texas. The Sox by 2 over Boston. The Mariners, 9-6 winners yesterday and 10 over California. And the A's and Twins, they split a pair on the coast. This weekend at Rhein-Main Air Base, something happened that an awful lot of people really didn't expect. The CSC baseball season actually got underway in the form of a preseason tournament that ran from Thursday through Sunday. Now, there was a lot of controversy, speculation at the beginning of the season as to whether or not CSC baseball would actually get off the ground this year. There are lots of reasons for that, but one reason certainly was not a lack of interested ball players.
There are more than enough. We started out with 42 people. We're down to 22 through the attrition rate and the cuts. And what you're going to see today are the best that we have at Spang at this time.
I had 57 people sign up for 16 members on the team. And after about the first month, we started in January in the gym working out. We still had 30 people going to cutoff day.
Now, despite the number of players that want to be involved in CSC baseball, there were some changes this year that drastically reduced the number of those who will be playing. First of all, there's only 5 teams in this year's CSC. Secondly, the number of players on those teams, the number of uniformed individuals, dropped from 22 to 17. Over the past couple of years, the play in the CSC has been described as on par with a junior college level back in the States. Well, the question here today is, with the reduced number of players and the reduced number of teams in the league, how will that affect the caliber of play?
What it really means by having 17 dressed players means that my being the coach of Rhein-Main reduces it to 16. And with Bob Riley being my assistant coach and not being able to play reduces it to 15. So we really have 15 players. And that, I think, is going to have an adverse effect because you really can't carry enough people, enough pitchers, and that definitely has to be addressed. And I think we need to get back into the range of 20 players and let more people compete, and it'll be for stronger teams.
But all that aside, there was nothing but optimism this weekend at Rhein-Main for the tournament. The players, the coaches, everybody concerned with the program, excited about this new 1984 baseball season. And all agree that this is not going to be the last year for the league. And there are some definite steps that can be taken to ensure that.
Well, I think the key to next year really is this year. I think if we have a very successful season, we've got 5 teams in it. Wiesbaden is in for sure. I think we have a really great year, good competitive year. People will realize that the CSC baseball is excellent baseball, and I think then we have to really look for a 6th team. We've got to get back into that 6-team range and be building rather than looking to, to let people out of the league.
Baseball needs support of baseball people. The silent majority, I think, are the people out there that talk baseball. They don't want to see the program die, but, like I only had 22 guys come out for baseball this year. I've had 50 people approach me after now wanting to come out and play baseball. Those 50 people got to come out. The people that enjoy watching the ball game, like every Saturday and Sunday when we play at Simbach, we pack them in on the hills. And those people got to speak up. They've got to say, hey, listen, baseball is our American pastime. We want to keep it alive.
So the CSC baseball season has shaken out a few of the bugs, and they're ready to go with the regular season this weekend. Over the course of the next 4 nights, we're going to take a closer look at each of the 4 teams that participated in that tournament last weekend. We'll look at their strengths, their hopes, and their chances. In the USFL this weekend, Cliff Stout, 2 TD passes as Birmingham wins for the 9th straight week. This one to former Steeler teammate Jim Smith. The Stallions winning by 17 over Denver. Elsewhere, the Panthers dropped their 4th in a row. They are losing to the Generals yesterday by 10, and Oakland won its first of the year, beating up on Chicago. Indoor soccer action, the Arrows yesterday, even their series with Baltimore in the Major Indoor Soccer League at a game apiece, winning 9-8 in overtime. At the Legends of Golf tourney yesterday in Texas, Sam Snead may have been the sentimental favorite, and boy, he had some super shots yesterday. Look at this one. However, it was Gabe Brewer, who will be seen putting right here, and Billy Casper went on to take the title. Some days, just about everything will drop in. Brewer and Casper 3 strokes better than Julius Boros and Miller Barber. The rest of the pack 6 strokes or more behind. At the Houston Open, it was Corey Pavin, 1-stroke winner. He was a stroke winner over Buddy Gardner and Bobby Watkins. And it was a 666 that gave red-hot Betsy King the Orlando Classic title, Alice Miller finishing a couple of shots behind. It was no contest yesterday in tennis at the WCT Finals, where John McEnroe blistered Jimmy Connors, saying afterward he's never played better. Mr. McEnroe, $150,000 richer for the win. Tonight on the update at 10:25, we're going to find out just what he does with his money. And on AFN Radio tomorrow morning at 2, USFL Action Live. We'll have the LA Express traveling to Houston to meet the Gamblers. Until then, that's sports.
Now over to weather with Chuck Grubb, who told us all Friday that it was going to warm up through the weekend. You didn't tell us about the wind chill factor cooling things off. How about the snow in Bavaria?
I heard there was actually some snow flurries around home.
A specialist, Stan Kosmoski, who's here to prove that there is life after the Super Bowl.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? But just think,
is.
the USFL season starts a month from Wednesday, so
football
fans don't have long to wait. But there's also a question of whether there's life for a coach up in New York. Exactly. The question today comes concerning Herb Brooks. It seems, after being hailed as a coaching genius back in 1980 after taking an unheralded hockey team to the gold medal in the Olympics, Herb Brooks took on the nearly impossible task of coaching that other NHL franchise in New York, the Rangers. But after winning just 15 of 45 games this season, yesterday Herb Brooks was fired and replaced by the team's GM, Craig Patrick. At least he didn't have to suffer the frustration that the Kings did out in L.A. Oilers coach Glenn Sather watched last night as the Kings played for most of 2 periods better than they have ever played before. Michel Dion here entering the record books, notching his 611th career goal, moving past Bobby Hull. That gave L.A. a 6-1 lead, but the Oilers roared back. Here Wayne Gretzky with a shorthanded goal. The Oilers would net 6 in that 3rd period to come back for an 8-7 win, despite some desperate last-second shots by the L.A. Kings. Elsewhere, the Blues topped the Red Wings. Detroit now winless in 12 straight. The Flames and Canucks drew a blank. The Bruins and assorted referees had a rough night. Yes, in all the fun and frolicking, they did manage to play some hockey last night. The Bruins riding the inspired goal play of Pete Peters to a 3-1 win over the Canadiens. Steve Larmer, a pair of goals and an assist for Chicago. The Jets nipped Pittsburgh. Over in the NBA, just a couple of games last night, Greg Ballard and World B. Free each with 31, but the Bullets were winners, and the Pacers dropped Golden State in double overtime. College hoop last night. The Bruins hosted Washington in a Pac-10 matchup. The Huskies led early, but in the second half, it was all UCLA. Nigel McWell with 17, including these two, but the 14 of those points came in the last 20 minutes, the Bruins winning at 63-51. Brad Daugherty with 28, leading the Tar Heels to an easy win, and the Blue Demons winning, upping their record to 13-3. The upset of the night, Pitt versus number 15 Boston College. The Panthers with a point lead, less than a minute to go, and BC's Trevor Gordon a chance to give the Eagles a lead and finds the backboard twice. Boston College falling 61-55 after blowing a 9-point lead. The Yellow Jackets sent Virginia to their 6th straight ACC loss. Villanova by 8 over Drexel. Navy a big winner over Delaware, and VMI 6 better than Davidson. And in our featured college score of the evening, West Virginia Wesleyan burned Salem yesterday 115-87. Boxers know it as the Passport. What it is a system for USERA to monitor its boxing program. The Passport's a small booklet that's carried by the boxers where the facts concerning each bout is recorded and the information forwarded to USERA Sports on a monthly basis. Now, the purpose of this is twofold. First, to keep the veterans from being mixed-matched against the novices in the boxing ring and thus preventing needless injuries, the second goal. And those needless injuries are a serious concern among everyone connected with the sport.
The boxing passport is intended to appropriately open or close the door for competition for USERA boxers. But the success of the program will depend largely on the corps and community level officials. And one for sure is all for it.
Oh, definitely. It helps us with the pairings. We can pair a lot easier on making sure that the boxers are boxing person with equal experience.
Brown also sees it as helping to make the sport a lot safer.
They're doing a little better with the physicals. They're also annotating in the book any problems that arise with that boxer, so that the next time the boxer goes to another community to have a physical, you know, what the previous doctor found is right there, and he can take a look at it and maybe check it again.
Terry Stotts, the Stuttgart boxing coach, shares the feeling.
You don't want nobody that has 50 or 60 fights fighting somebody with 1 or 2 fights. You know, you're just asking for trouble, and you're asking for somebody really to get hurt. It's easier in the boxing business to get outclassed, and you know, once you've had a lot of fights under your belt, you really know about what's going on as far as boxing itself, knowing how to kill time in the ring, know how to work, really get somebody set up. And if I have a fighter, like I say, it has 1 or 2 fights, and he end up fighting somebody coming from a state with 30 or 40 fights, and he end up just knocks my guy out, well, basically, my fighter's gonna quit. You know, because he gets a bad experience of the ring. And this is I think the AFN 26 is going to be really good.
So the sport of boxing enters a whole new phase in USERA, one that, with the help of coaches and local officials, will offer a much safer future for its boxers. While in USERA, the sport's boxing in the CSC, the eyes are turning to basketball and playoffs ahead this week.
Saturday night's game for AFN Sports.
Well, yesterday they had their victory parade in San Francisco for the new world champions of professional football. But not everyone is satisfied that the Niners are the best team in the NFL this year. Just ask some Miami fans. Well, all across America today, armchair quarterbacks with their typical perfect 20/20 hindsight vision are wondering, what if? Well, what if you were the coach of the Miami Dolphins? Would you have fared any better? There is a new toy on the market that just may give you the chance to answer that question. The world's first voice-activated Laserdisc video game.
Welcome to the thrills and excitement of the
reporting.
Yes, and you too can become an armchair quarterback in your own home, and it'll only cost you $2,495. $2,500, and it won't even help you balance your checkbook. That's sports.
Now we'll activate Chuck Grubb. Take a look at the weather. Boy, is this warm. Now we're to specialist Dan Kosmoski in sports, and only one game in the NFL last night.
Things have slowed down a lot in January, haven't they, in football? But it was not the game everyone expected it to be, but a lot of 49ers fans are happy today.
They struck gold, didn't they?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, it is finally over. After 2 weeks of nearly endless hype and hearing just about everything you never wanted to hear about Dan Marino and Joe Montana in the first place, Super Bowl 19 is finally history. Now, for the next few minutes, just sit back. If you're a Finns fan, maybe take some consolation in the fact that this San Francisco team is perhaps one of the best in the history of pro football. And if you're a Niners fan, just kick off your shoes and enjoy.
Well, the game started disastrously for San Francisco, and Derek Harmon took Von Schauman's opening kickoff near the sideline and couldn't keep his balance. Winded up tumbling out of bounds at his own 6-yard line. Then on the very first play from scrimmage for the Niners, usually sure-handed Freddie Sullivan drops a wide-open pass out in the flat. Looks like a long day ahead for San Francisco. They kicked the ball away after a couple of first downs. Miami could do no better than a field goal, and the 49ers get it back, using just 8 plays, driving 78 yards, and capping it this way.
A little roll to the right. Montana fires the shot. It's in it. Right. Out of the backfield in the wingback spot with Carl Monroe.
But just 6 plays later, all but one of them passes, Dan Marino did what he does best.
And on first down, goal to go inside the 2. What do you think, Joe? Let's go.
Well, there's no question about it. You know they're going to throw the football here. Dan Johnson just works in behind Reynolds and finds a little soft spot in the defense, and bang, you got yourself 6 points.
Believe it or not, that touchdown with just 45 seconds left in the first quarter was all Miami would net on the day. From then on, it was all Joe Montana. First, it was an 8-yard toss to Roger Craig, and the Niners led 14-10. A bit later on, Montana took it on the lam and legged it into the end zone, 21-10 Niners. At the half, it was 28-16, and San Francisco never looked back, not with the defense they put on the field yesterday. Dan Marino had been sacked just 16 times all season. He was dumped 4 times by the Niners defense yesterday. 2 interceptions for Dan Marino, and Miami comes away losing to a fired-up 49er squad 38-16.
We didn't say anything about it all week, but
I think deep down inside of you, when you hear all week long, Miami, Miami, how are you going to stop Miami?
The Dolphins losing the big one for the second time in 3 years. Actually, I wasn't quite telling the full truth earlier. It's not all over yet, in case you were facing the realities of a Monday morning work schedule and opted to bypass the Super Bowl last night. Super Bowl 19 will be replayed in its entirety immediately following our newscast this evening. As to the other sports action yesterday in the Garden, you might have called it a Super Bowl of hoop. The greats came to watch the youngsters yesterday, the NBA's two best teams this season won. As popular as boxing is, almost no sport is under as much fire right now as is that one, boxing. It seems as if for the second straight year, the American Medical Association has called for a complete ban of the sport, and a British medical association has followed suit. The concern is for the safety of the boxer. That's something that USERA has taken definite steps to correct and protect. Since November 1st, every Army boxer has had to record the results of every bout first in what is called a boxing passport. And from there, the information is sent to Schwetzingen.
Well, it used to be back in the good old days that you as a boxer kept a book on the fit.
Well, now to sports and specialist Dan Kosmoski, and when we talk about big bucks in sports, we're usually talking about the athlete's contract, but you've got a new twist on that tonight.
That's right. We also have an athlete's contract coming up as well. Word just came out about an hour ago. The attorney for Doug Flutie says that his client has agreed to a long-term deal with the New Jersey Generals of the USFL, and that contract should be signed early next week. And it had to happen sooner or later, but yesterday, the University of Miami and CBS signed a $2 million television deal. CBS will be televising at least 3 Hurricane games over the next 2 seasons, while Miami remains free to appear on any other network when CBS is not televising its games.
Well, televising last night's Battle of the Hoosiers wasn't difficult to imagine. For Bobby Knight, though, it wasn't imagination. It was a nightmare. His Hoosiers blowing an 8-point second-half lead before falling to Purdue 62-52. The number 8 Beavers stayed undefeated in the Pac-10. Tech overwhelming McNeese State. In fact, State didn't have a rebound in that game for the first 13 minutes. Steve Harris with 30 points and 9 assists for Tulsa. The Runnin' Rebels routed New Mexico. And at Norfolk, Kenny Gaddison led the Monarchs with 19, including a soft touch on this one. But Gene Bardo said, take it easy. Leave it to the Sun Belt Conference's leading scorer, Steve Mitchell. Here he pumps in 2, and UAB escaped with a 56-55 win, despite 5 last-second shots by Old Dominion. Service action, Army flunked Yale, but the Middies torpedoed North Carolina Wilmington by 27. And specialist Ron Bruschi says the highlight of this weekend's TV action comes from Big East basketball.
The live sports weekend begins with the National Hockey League. Kings versus the Blues, Saturday, 2:30 a.m. on AFN Radio. Then just 1 hour later, it's more hockey action on AFN TV as Wayne the Great Skate Gretzky leads the Oilers against the Devils. Then college basketball action comes your way Saturday night. Georgetown versus St. John's for supremacy in the Big East. Game time on AFN TV, 8 o'clock. AFN Radio tips off at 8:30. Then more college basketball Sunday morning at 3 a.m. on AFN TV. This time a Big Ten clash, Northwestern versus Minnesota. Rounding out the weekend will be the Pro Bowl Sunday night, 10 p.m. on AFN TV, 10:30 on radio. The best the AFC and NFC have to offer, go at it in Hawaii. That's the live sports weekend. Have a great weekend. Specialist Ron Bruschi, AFN Sports.
And our featured college score of the night comes from down south in what was an awfully high-scoring game for a 2-on-2 matchup. Washington and Lee nipped Emory and Henry by a bucket. In golf, red-hot Lanny Watkins sure has started the year off with a bang. $100,000 in earnings so far in just 2 tourneys. And yesterday, a blistering 8 under 63, tying the course record at the L.A. Open. It was good enough for a 2-shot lead in that tourney. Not good enough is the $500,000 a year that Cubs first baseman Leon Durham is shagging. He wants $1 million per, and that means that there's an arbiter ahead for the Bull. His numbers in '84, batting average of .279 with 23 homers and 96 ribbies. And he did have the best RBI ratio in the National League. That should mean a few more dollars for gas fare. Dick Moss is Durham's agent, and he'll be busy with Durham and his new client, the Expos' Andre Dawson. Dawson is asked to renegotiate his pact with Montreal. He's on the final year of a 5-year deal with an option for 2 more. In other baseball notes yesterday, the Orioles' Mike Flanagan tore up his Achilles tendon at a charity basketball game. He's out through July. DH Richie Zisk placed on waivers by Seattle. Shortstop Ubi Brooks, a 3-year deal with Montreal. And Rupert Jones, who hit .282 with the Tigers last year, signs up for a year with California. Boxing promoter Don King has long been known for his wheeling and dealing. In fact, he is one of the 2 or 3 men said to own professional boxing. Well, the FBI didn't seem to think that everything was above board with Don King Productions, so they set up a sting operation. And you know what they found? He didn't go for it.
All I know is that they are working on me, they've been working on me, and like I said from the very beginning, I am not doing anything wrong but out-competing all of them in a marked manner, even in spite of the insurmountable difficulties and impediments that have been put in my path. Think what I would do if I had the free limb and mobility and the free mind to continue in American way, in the tradition of America, pioneer and trailblazer, to do it like it's supposed to be done in establishing new beachheads and making things happen. I'm doing all this with everybody on my back.
Well, that's how it usually is in the NBA, but not so last night at Landover, Maryland. Gus Williams shook the Mavericks off his back for 31 points and some nifty moves in the Bullets' 93-92 win over Dallas. Unbelievable. Elsewhere, the Warriors lost number 13 in a row in Detroit. Terry Cummings with 34 for the Bucks. World beat Freeze 35, leading the Cavs by Utah, and the Nuggets won their 4th in a row. On the ice, Craig Patrick said he was scared and nervous about his return to NHL coaching, but he was pleased after his Rangers gave him a 3-1 victory over the Red Wings. Patrick, the team's vice president, had fired Herb Brooks earlier in the week and took over the coaching duties he held 4 years ago. Elsewhere, the Nordiques won in Montreal. Buffalo lost for just the 2nd time in 15 games, and New York trimmed the Maple Leafs by 3. The life of a military athlete's a difficult one. It means hours of practice and effort away from family and whatever free time is available. And for a lot of us in jobs that require a lot of time, we know what a rare commodity that free time is. USAFE wrestlers, for example, have given up this weekend in order to compete for the right to travel to the All-Air Force camp. But Wednesday night, it was the Continental Sports Conference turn to congratulate its athletes for a job well done.
Excellence in sports is the CSC's motto and was readily apparent by all who were in contention. Keynote speaker General William Bruckner Jr. casting squadron for AFN Sports.
By the way, if you're churning to catch those USAFE wrestlers in action, they will be competing tomorrow morning starting at 9:30 at the Volgave Gym. It'll be the Greco-Roman finals. Whatever you do this weekend, get out and have an enjoyable time. That's sports.
Well, on to...
A couple of living legends were returned to the world of baseball yesterday as if they were ever really separated from it. Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays, who were banned from any associations with the game, were reinstated last night by Baseball Commissioner Peter Uberoth.
I know it was really hard for Mr. Uberoth to, being a friend of Mr. Coons, that it was hard for him to do what he did today, but I'm very proud that he did. I think he's going to be a great commissioner, and I'm just very happy today.
Can you find anything that I did wrong in baseball? See, when you're banned from baseball, that's something you did wrong as far as baseball was concerned. My argument was, what did I do?
What Mays did was take a job with Bally's Park Place Casino. Mantle with Del Webb's Claridge Casino Hotel in a public relations capacity, rubbing elbows and playing golf with the casino's biggest customers. For that, former baseball commissioner Bowie Kuhn had banned them from the national pastime. Now, however, it seems Mantle and Mays will both be able to return to the sport with which their names are synonymous.
And I like to be the ambassador of baseball. I like to go to the All-Star game, World Series game, go to different places. Since I've been in the business world, I know what it's all about now.
I've always felt like I'm a Yankee, and I'd like to end up being a Yankee.
Well, Mick, this might be the year to be a Blue Jay. Sporting the spring's only perfect record, Toronto put rookie Jimmy Key on the mound yesterday. The Jays looking for a lefty starter this year. He tossed 4 strong innings, struck out the side in the first before Ryan Harper got to him for a homer in the 4th. Neil Allen came in and shut the door as the Cardinals end the Birds' win streak with a 3-1 victory. On the hardwood last night, it looked like the Clippers took some lessons from the Jays on winning. Norm Nixon, 20 points, a career-high 21 assists, leading L.A. by the slumping Detroit Pistons 136-116. Detroit now 11 games behind the Bucks. The Denver Nuggets atop the Midwest, and playing that way, Elston Turner fingertips it in, but Denver had to earn this one. 6 seconds left, the Mavericks setting up for that one last shot. In the wasted Wayne Cooper and then Calvin Nat. Here it comes, 1 block. 2 block shots, and the Nuggets hold on for a 2-point win. Only one other game yesterday, Adrian Dantley with 35, and the Jazz routed the Warriors by 11. On the ice last night, the Bruins and Nordiques battled it out. They call this a heated rivalry in the NHL. Michel Goulet, in just a second, will come up with one of his 3 goals on the night, giving Quebec an 8-4 win and a tie with Montreal for the Adams Division lead. The only other 2 games in the league last night both needed overtime, but only the Leafs could come away with a win. USFL action, Vince Evans rode the gamut from hero to goat. Third quarter, Evans rolls out and tosses a slap shot to Mark Lewis, and the Gold take a 1-point lead. But just a few minutes later, Evans isn't quite as lucky. He goes to scramble again with slightly different results. The Pigskid, roaming vainly in search of a home, plays a little hot potato. Nobody wants it, but the Gamblers finally recover. Jim Kelly then hits one of his 4 touchdown passes on the very next play, and the Gamblers would ease to a 36-17 win. Now, if Kelly should keep up his current pace, he will end the season with 72 touchdowns and over 7,800 yards passing on the season. It was not in the air, but on the lanes that all the action took place in Corps Championships the past few days. Let's head out first, Ludwigsburg way.
You just might say the view from the ground up was pretty impressive as bowlers rolled off for one of 8 slots to advance to the USERA Championships in Heilbronn next month. The women's all-event champ was Augsburg's Bonnie Shepard, and needless to say, she bowls a bit.
Well, I bowl on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I'm also tournament director down in Augsburg for the Women's Association, so that means that I bowl in a lot of tournaments also. So I do that, plus I practice after work about between 4 and 5 o'clock on twice a week.
And after missing the cutoff to USERA by just a few pins last year, she took some strong, decisive steps to change that.
I got married this past year, and I mentioned my husband is a big bowler. He knows exactly what to say to calm me down and keep me thinking bowling rather than getting distracted by what everybody else is doing or whatever lane conditions or whatever nitty things I used to get upset about.
For the men, 2-time inter-service champ Jim Worley of Ansbach took singles honors, but Neuilm's Dan Weichel took the all-events crown with a lot less experience.
As far as competitive bowling, I've really not had that much. I've been bowling now for 8 years now, and I've really never actually had a chance to bowl in something similar to this here. I have shot ABC in 82, 83, and 83, 84 season back in the States. And like I say, I averaged about 190, 195 there. Other than that, I've really had no competitive bowling.
Overall, Neuilm's Tom Parman teamed with Weichel for the doubles title, while Shepard and Augsburg's Deb Chanette were the best women team. In 5th Corps, it was Pete Williams of Baumholder, the men's champ, Vicki Harris, a triple winner, singles, all events, and doubles with BK teammate Paula Wright. For the men, Sam Rodriguez of Bad Kreuznach may have missed the singles crown by 2 pins, but he nailed the doubles title with partner George Vanderveer making it a BK sweep. Bill Kenny of TV5 got to watch.
The lanes were alive with the sounds of rolling balls and tumbling pins at Rose Barracks in Bad Kreuznach for the 5th Corps Bowling Championships. Bowlers from 10 military communities across Corps competed for 3 days to determine who would represent 5th Corps at the USERA level bowling championships. For Sergeant Vicki Harris and Staff Sergeant Samuel Rodriguez of the Bad Kreuznach military community, the Corps Championships turned into personal triumphs as they captured the top all-event honors.
I've also watched a lot of scores in the 7th Corps roll-offs. They're averaging much higher than we are in the top 10 positions. I think a lot of that has to do with the house that they're shooting in now. It's synthetic lanes and a little bit different conditions than we have here. This is a hard house to shoot in, and hopefully we'll be able to hold our own down here.
From Bad Kreuznach, I'm Bill Kenny, TV5 for AFN.
There's a break in the action at the NCAA basketball tournament. Play set to resume on Thursday, but now we wind down to the final 2 weekends of play. And Nick Charles sets the scene for the final 16 and says it's more than just who will earn the right to lose to Georgetown.
Even if the tournament is a lock,